Today I'm going to show you how I change my Santivia water filter in the water filtration system. And you can also use this method if you're getting the unit set up for the first time as well. So it's a bit of a longer video, but stick with me because I've got some really great tips and tricks that will make your life a lot easier doing this. So first things first, I always dump out the water in my unit and I'll put it in the plants instead of just throwing it down the drain. I always keep a couple jugs for myself as well because it does take a long time for it to refill again so that you can drink it. And I'll explain that later on as well. So step one, empty out the water into another pitcher, fill up a couple glasses for yourself for the day, and then a little bit of the reserved water and the rocks on the bottom into the pot and boil it for 15 minutes. I've done this a bunch of times now, so I have a system for how to make it go a little bit faster. Clean out your sink and then fill up one side with some soapy water, and you'll use that to wash all the parts. I take the new filter out of the package and I start just running some cold water through it. And you'll see here, I've already done a couple passes, but you'll see here that there's still quite a bit of silt. This is probably the 5th or 6th pass of cold water that I've done through here. And the first one was really black. So you do have to do this step over and over again, and it does kind of take a while. So, and I do it in the lid so that I can see and measure how much silt is still coming out, and you can see it in the bottom as it filters. So see, it's still quite dirty. And it runs through fairly quickly, but it's just one of those things. Like, this is the part that probably takes the longest of cleaning the system. While I am keeping an eye on that and the rocks are boiling, I'm gonna start cleaning the other parts of the filter. So this ceramic filter, it's still good. You don't have to change this. See how there's still part of the ceramic on the top? And it's just dirty. So what you do is you just take a sponge. I'll just take this clean, happy sponge and I'll just scrub the top of it until it's white again. See the difference? Now, some kitchen sponges have soap in them, and I wouldn't recommend using those because you don't want the soap to absorb into the porous ceramic. But just give it a rinse afterwards and you can just set it aside now to dry. I also put down a whole bunch of towels because this stuff takes up so much space when it's drying. I just want all the old tap water to be completely dried off before I start filling in the other new water. Don't forget to take apart the tap of it and clean all these little parts as well. This is probably the dirtiest part of the whole filter because it gets touched all the time. I also forgot to mention, if you're not using a brand new kitchen sponge, then use a paper towel to clean everything because you don't want any cross-contamination from these types of things like sponges or washcloths that are not brand new or freshly washed. So just using a paper towel to wash all the components just helps it to get a clean start for your water. And just a reminder to keep checking on your water. So it's still got quite a bit of silt coming out, but it's getting better. It doesn't have to be completely clean because you're gonna run a couple passes through the filter once you put it all back together. Another thing I wanted to mention is putting these parts in the dishwasher. I would not recommend doing that. I've done this in the past and it just kind of ruined everything and it got warped. Just take the time to wash it. If you do it every 6 months, that's probably a stretch, but it's not terrible. If you've got a lot of people using it and you're using a lot of water, then you probably want to change the filter more often. And you can tell when it starts to taste funny or if there's algae growth or anything like that on the rocks in the bottom of the tank, then that's obviously a sign to change the filter and or wash out the tank. And you don't have to change the filter if you're not washing out the tank, but it's a good opportunity to just do everything, make everything clean, and start from scratch. So the old filter here, I believe you can recycle these. Try disassembling them and just doing something with the material inside, like maybe put it in your garden or, you know, compost, and then just recycle the plastic parts. So I'm gonna continue washing these, and stick with me and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So after 15 minutes of these rocks boiling, I've put them in this strainer because you definitely don't want any of these pieces going down your sink. I have also had that happen before, and especially if you've got a garbage disposal, highly recommend that you take proper care to avoid those little beads falling down, because I have also had that happen before. So you can let these strain out for a minute, and then I just put them somewhere laid out like this to cool, and that's basically all you do. These rocks rarely need to be changed. Boiling them like this will just keep them good for a really, really long time. And the only filter that you really do need to change more often is that big one, because that's the one that's doing a lot of the work. And you can even take this ceramic one off and scrub it down every so often if you start to notice it getting yellow. I hope you've stayed with me for this long. We are almost done. But one thing I wanted to mention here about why I use this lid to help drain the new filter is because it's got this little hole in the middle, or this indent in the middle, and that allows the water to drain. Like if you were to just put it in a bowl flat down like that, it wouldn't really be able to drain out. So keep that in mind when you're doing that process. I'm starting to put this back together now. Everything's been dried. This little tap, there are 2 O-rings. One goes on the outside like this, and the other one goes on the inside before you screw this on in the inside. Okay, so you don't want to lose these little O-rings because you need them. Okay, I've got that one back on, so just make sure that it's really tight. Okay, so you want to hold this piece and the front piece. I'm just doing this with a one-handed operation right now, but you hold both pieces, tightening this one. Now, when putting the ceramic top on, okay, we've got an O-ring on here already, just like the tap. Okay, so one on each side. These are needed to create a seal. Don't tighten it too much, but you know, you want a snug fit. Same with this piece. You don't want to over tighten it. Okay, just tighten it so that there are no more thread lines that you can see, and just pop it back in. I'm not putting the rocks in yet because we're going to run a few passes of water through this first, and then drain this again, because we want to get any leftover sediment out of here. Okay, I've got it filled, and now we wait. So that is why I suggested to fill up some water for the meantime, because this is probably going to take a few hours at least. So here we are after I've let this do a couple passes, and I've emptied out the water and used it to water my plants. But I've spread the rocks kind of evenly throughout the base, and this has taken the majority of the day to get to this point. So just be mindful of that when you go to set up your water filter for the first time or change the filter. But I really hope that this video helps you with the process, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching.